enhance the environment for investment. For example, when you're structuring risk management to encourage investors in FCV states, as well as in emerging markets in general, is there a method for buying down risks for a country or government in a conflict or fragile state? And then another way of asking that is, the World Bank wants to partner more with the private sector. What would you like to see more of from the World Bank, IFC, MEGA, to help promote more partnership with the private sector and really encourage the mobilization of private capital? So we're doing some now, but what else would you, from your perspective, think would be very valuable?
So that's a great question. I think step one is to acknowledge all of the sources of capital that that contribute towards countries. And remittances account for an enormous peer-to-peer cash transfer, $608 billion in 2015, totally recession-proof, totally peer-to-peer. And with the advent, again, of this return to economic nationalism, it's a cash flow that I think the World Bank has a unique obligation to defend, promote, and ensure that any type of retrenchment of nationalism doesn't obstruct that and driving friction. And I think there are also insurance solutions that can protect the interruption of that cash flow. That goes into the hands of real people, and it contributes towards their development and purchasing power. Official development assistance, sadly, has flatlined over the last decade. And so, if that is going to be the operating reality, I think the onus for the World Bank and multilaterals like the World Bank is to become more efficient and effectively become a source of leverage, whether it's through putting together events like this or the Development Finance Forum, but bringing private capital to bear, and then creating hybrid structures that address the billions to trillion gap, both on the risk and the capital side. I think it's a unique obligation of the World Bank to do more with less. And it's not just the World Bank that faces that operating reality. I think most advanced economies are constraining their development assistance, and so we all need to lever up much more strategically. And then finally, this concept of foreign direct investment and how to promote it and protect it. There are solutions out there, and I think one of the ways we make those solutions more strategic and accessible is to break the pattern of adverse selection, which is that only the worst countries with only the highest risks seek the solution. And so ways to do that would incorporate, again, that the World Bank is uniquely poised. I've always dreamt of the concept of a country sponsoring a political risk solution to promote inward investment in the country. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to build that hybrid approach, become more efficient. But I think that's and then last but not least, I think there's a huge burden on the global asset manager to invest in the very world and in the very stability that they thrive on. Short of doing that, all of these issues are coming home to roost. The migration crisis in continental Europe that shattered the Schengen Agreement, that is breaching NATO's sort of capability to respond, all of that is a function of underinvestment. And eventually, these things are coming home to roost. And so we need to become more activists and thoughtful about what types of risk-reward trade-offs we're willing to accept, and over a slightly longer horizon than we're used to.
Teresa?
Well, from my point of view, from the World Bank specifically,